Steven Universe and all associated images are property of Cartoon Network, Rebecca Sugar, and any and all other respective owners. I don't know them all. All footage in this video has been used for the purpose of critique parody under fair use. Please support the official release. Alright, so I just want to start out by apologizing for any potential noise pollution that might be in the background of this video. There is a nest of birds living outside my house, like right outside my window, and you're probably going to be able to hear them from time to time as I'm recording this. There's just, unfortunately, nothing that I can really do about it. That said, I want to preface this theory by saying that Garnet is a very difficult character to talk about. Garnet is my favorite gem character in the show, but it's no secret that her characterization hasn't been as, let's say, in-depth as some of the other characters, and I can fully understand why. I do have a Garnet character study coming up relatively soon, and I almost waited to put this theory together until after I had finished that, but this is something I want to get out before the Wanted special, because I kind of get the sense I'm going to have a lot more theories to talk about once that's aired, and I don't want this theory to fall by the wayside. I had an Amethyst theory planned months ago, like months and months ago, that I kept putting off in favor of other theories, and then we got Steven versus Amethyst and Crack the Whip and all that, and I no longer needed to make it, so I don't want that to happen with this one. Now, I don't want to get too much into it yet by focusing on the why, because I am going to focus on the why in that upcoming Garnet character analysis. I do think that this behavior stems from some very prominent traits of Garnet's, so simply focusing on the how rather than the why, and this is going to be a controversial statement, I'm sure. I don't think Garnet is nearly as strong a leader as I would expect, say, Pearl to say that she is. Pearl and Amethyst both respect Garnet a lot, which I think stems from the fact that not only did Rose respect Garnet a lot and really rely on Garnet's powers, but Garnet is able to seem really on top of things thanks to her future vision. And yet there are times when Garnet really dropped the ball as a leader. After it became apparent that there was a real threat that Homeworld was going to return. After Peridot, a Homeworld gem, set foot on Earth, Garnet barely responded and tried to ignore the threat and put it off. Subsequently, in Marble Madness, she was willing to defer to Steven's judgment and try to determine what it was that Peridot's marble robots wanted. But then as soon as she saw Peridot again, as soon as she realized that Peridot had in a way returned to Earth, she once again tried to deny the problem, rather than try to seek out additional information. And once again, she directed the other crystal gems to destroy Peridot's means of interacting with the Earth, and then effectively swept the situation under the rug. It wasn't until Lapis contacted them with concrete evidence that Homeworld was returning, that Homeworld was on the way, that Garnet finally acknowledged it as a problem, that she and the other crystal gems finally started to prepare. Which is utterly ridiculous and extremely irresponsible. Even if Garnet didn't have future vision that should have shown her possible futures where she would have to fight Homeworld gems again, Peridot had already come to Earth, more or less, twice. Some level of renewed interest in the Earth from Homeworld was obvious. As a leader, Garnet should have reacted much earlier. Even if she had no idea what to do, how to react, she should have done something. She should have at least acknowledged the problem. And yet, in the message, when she heard that message sent to Earth by Lapis, the reaction of Garnet and the other crystal gems was obvious. This is something that they had hoped they would never have to deal with, which suggests that they weren't dealing with it at all in the first place. And while an argument could be made that Garnet was trying to protect Steven from finding out stuff that she didn't think he was ready to know yet, she still should have been discussing the problem with the other crystal gems, and apparently she wasn't. We learn later on that this is at least in part because she was afraid of herself and the other crystal gem remnants being discovered by the diamonds. It's the entire reason that she didn't go with Steven to investigate Pink Diamond's palanquin. It's the entire reason that she wasn't there when Greg was taken, because she was worried that Blue Diamond would see her, recognize her as a crystal gem, and that suddenly the diamonds would have a renewed interest in the Earth. And that is certainly a motivation that I can understand and one that I actually agree with. But now it turns out that Peridot's report, back at the end of Marble Madness, didn't just go to her superior. It went all the way up to the diamonds. The diamonds know that there are still crystal gems on Earth and have known for quite a while now. Maybe things still would have turned out worse had Garnet gone with Steven to investigate the palanquin, but maybe they wouldn't have. And now we'll never know, all because Garnet made the assumption that the diamonds didn't know of her existence, and made the choice to allow Steven to go there without her protection. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to Garnet is afraid of Homeworld and is afraid of the diamonds. And she should be. But the fact of the matter is, she was so afraid of the diamonds, so afraid of Homeworld, that she ignored the fact that they were clearly coming back. She defaulted to a mindset where the most important thing to her was preventing the diamonds from learning of her existence and the existence of other gems still on Earth. and convinced herself that that was enough to the point that she didn't make any preparations in time for their return. We don't know if the Crystal Gems could have prepared some sort of defense against Homeworld because we were never given the chance to be shown. And yes, everything turned out well, at least at the time, but that does not make Garnet's behavior any less reckless. Garnet reacts like a lost soldier waiting for direction, rather than a leader. And believe me, it pains me to say that. I like Garnet so much. Yes, it was reckless of Steven to interact with Peridot back in Marble Madness, but it wasn't Steven who stood there and declared the existence of the Crystal Gems. That was Pearl, one of the Crystal Gems under Garnet's command. If this is something that Garnet was really worried about, she should have instructed Pearl not to do that. If the discovery of the Crystal Gems was something that Garnet was really worried about, she should have made a point of reminding the other Crystal Gems of that going into the situation. And yet she didn't, showing that she was either too afraid to think clearly, or she just isn't the leader that this team needs. As much as I love Garnet, I think it's pretty self-evident at this point that she has failed as a leader, and honestly, I think this is the direction the show's been going for a long time. Garnet is still a very strong character, literally and figuratively, and I don't think she's a failure overall. I just think she's not a good leader. Thankfully, though, the Crystal Gems have someone amongst their ranks who is, and that's Steven. Where all of the evidence shows that Garnet is so afraid of Homeworld that she would run and hide from them given the opportunity, Steven was courageous enough to step up and sacrifice himself to protect his friends. It's a little annoying that it seems like Garnet's characterization up to this point has just been a stepping stone for Steven's characterization. But if this has been the intention of the crew all along, and with as often as Garnet defers to Steven nowadays, I definitely think it was. It's still some pretty good writing. But as per usual, I'd like to know, what do you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.